Hi everyone. Shu Allegra here, founder of Grace and Hope Consulting, and we are still talking about reinventing yourself. And today I have my good friend Carrie with me, and I'll let Carrie introduce herself.
Good morning or hello. I don't know when this will air, but either way,
Yeah.
hello. My name is Carrie Reichartz. I am many things. I'm a lawyer, I'm a missionary, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, a fundraiser, lots of different life coaching, lots of different hats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely
How
keep
about-
busy doing all
yeah,
good stuff.
yes.
Yes. So on the topic of reinventing ourselves, and I know, your story, and I'm sure it's only part of it, but would you mind sharing, how you had to reinvent yourself throughout the years? Even with all the many hats that you wear, I'm sure that there have been, more than one reinvention in the process.
For sure, for sure. I would say probably the biggest and the first big one, because I kind of just started my relationship with God at the time, was in 2008. I went to Kenya for the first time.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
Sorry about
I'm,
that.
I'm,
Hi. Seeing what life was like over there and just not realizing that people live in mud huts in 2008 and still in 2018 and 2019.
yeah.
That people truly don't have enough food. I probably should have known. I know the commercials were out there and those things, but it was just not. I didn't think about it. And then to really be there and see that and get to know the people, some of which live that way, or at least know people that live that way,
Mm-hmm.
was really actually traumatic for me. Like it was really like I can't live like this here while someone else over there is living like that. Like that's not fair. It's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I could sell everything I own and it wasn't going to make a difference in that.
Yeah.
But yet there were things that God was calling me to do. It was very difficult to figure that out, but that would make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of going from there. And so I guess my first big reinvention was switching from lawyer to then opening up a home daycare. So that was my first reinvention. I went from making 175 an hour to making 175 a week for
That's a big
60
change.
hours of work,
Yeah.
and sick all the time and everything that goes with running the daycare when you haven't done it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Loved every minute of it at the same time, but yeah, it was not easy financially. It wasn't easy in a lot of different ways, but
Yeah.
really loved it. And it gave me more time to then start on the things and to spend more time praying and figuring out what the things were that God was really calling me to do in Kenya. So
Mm-hmm.
that was probably my first one. And then the next one was going from, in 2014, Ebola hit Africa. It was nowhere near Kenya, but in the US, it's hard for us to envision how big Africa is. It's a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
bigger than
Yeah.
we think. In fact, most of the other continents could be placed inside of Africa and there
Mm-hmm.
still be extra space.
Yes.
So it's very large, but neither here nor there. And I was actually closer to Ebola in the US, here in Wisconsin, when it
Wow.
was down in Texas, than I was in
Yeah.
Kenya when
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
over in Ghana, or not even
Mm-hmm.
Ghana, but in Sierra Leone and way western
Western.
Kenya.
Yeah.
We're way eastern Kenya where we work in Mombasa. Um, so neither here nor there, it became an issue. Ebola was a scary thing. I was ready and prepared for it, but no one really approached me on it. But then when I got home, it really it was this decision of, will they allow the babies around me? And actually it turned
Mm-hmm.
out it was actually more of my employee that was scared than any of
Wow.
the parents actually. But that was the source I had, was my employee. And so then it
Mm-hmm.
became an issue of walking away from my income. So the daycare was still income
Yeah.
and nice income as it built its way up and all of those things. But I knew I couldn't keep doing Kenya and doing the daycare because some things had already been difficult over the last 2 years, trying to keep everything up. And so it was a huge decision to walk away from a good income and a job I loved. I love these babies. I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them from 6 weeks all the way up to 3, 4, 5 years old,
Wow.
and it was really hard in so many ways to let go of that. But yet knew that if I didn't, that I wouldn't be following what God wanted for me. And
Mm-hmm.
though it might be safer, simpler, comfortable for sure
Mm-hmm.
financially, in the end I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't
Yeah.
truly have joy in my life, because the joy comes from following in obedience what he wants. And though I would be safe, I would be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, I would have income, I would lack complete joy and complete happiness. I would have very little of that, and it would get more and more annoying, more and more frustrating, more and more lack all that it had been for me
Hmm.
previous to that. So those
Yeah.
are two of my big transformations. I have others, but those are my two big ones.
Yeah, and you're huge. I mean, just thinking about from going from a lawyer to being, having a home daycare. I mean, that's huge. Like you're letting go of the big pay, you're letting go of the status that comes with it. What society sees as success, right? And
Yeah,
even when you had the daycare. It was, like you said, building itself up, and it was comfortable enough that you could take care of bills, and you were happy doing it. And it wasn't like you were miserable, but you knew there was more,
yeah.
that you were called to do more than just that. And sometimes we get so busy, chasing success, that
Hmm.
we get success and we're miserable, or
Yeah,
we get success and we don't feel fulfilled. Sometimes you can say you can be comfortable, it was comfortable, but
yeah,
you didn't feel fulfilled. There was something more, like you knew that you're called to do more. And,
yeah.
you had to be chasing after, otherwise, I get, even for myself, you get into that spot where you're just kind of restless. It's life is not bad, but life is not great either. And it's not always money. It's that fulfillment and insight, knowing that you're doing exactly what you're called to do, what you were born to do at the exact time that you need to do it. And it makes, it's a game changer for all of us.
Absolutely. And that's so hard to do in this culture
Yes.
because we are so trained that success is where you're going to find it. You're going to find it in money. You're going to find it in success. If you just climb the corporate ladder, you're going to
Yeah.
find that peace. We have anxiety and depression leading up to that, we think.
All the
And
stress
we
of
think
it
once
all.
we get there, that'll all be gone and everything's going to be perfect. But I can tell you, once you get there, because I've been there, it's just more anxiety and more depression to try and stay there.
Yes. Yes.
It's not, that's not what life is about. That's what our society teaches us, but that is not what life is about. And I learned that in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have material possessions. They don't have opportunity to even go to school, let alone
Hmm.
be a lawyer or doctor or any of these corporate ladder successes.
Yeah.
But yet they're happy and joyful. Like, I'm willing to trade that. Like, I'm willing
Yeah.
to let go of that. And they were such an example. My friends over there
Mhm.
were such that example, that it's like there's joy in that. Like, we
Yeah.
don't need joy in our money. We don't need joy in our career successes. Like, there's
Mhm.
joy outside of that. They're not wrong. They're not bad. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that you can't follow those if that's where God's calling you to go. Absolutely. But at the same time, that we have to be doing it because God's calling us to that, not because we feel that's where happiness lies.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
happiness lies within us. It's a
Mhm.
fruit of the Spirit. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit. We have it already. We're
Mhm.
not going to find it outside anywhere in anything. And
Yeah.
that's even ministry, because I think we also get into ministry for the same reason, thinking if I just
Mhm.
get my ministry big enough, then I'll have joy and success. And we do those
Right.
same things in ministry, and it's
Mhm.
not there either. We
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
have it to then be able to create it for others. And I know you do a great
Exactly.
job of that in all the work you do.
Mhm.
And it's such a big revelation, and it's so hard to learn over here in
Yeah.
the U.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And even like we said, even when we have it all, it's never going to be enough, because we have this, mentality that we have to keep chasing after all the time.
yeah,
And I can't remember where I read this years back, but if you keep chasing money, you'll never find it.
yeah.
And because we think that, well, I'll get money, and then whatever. Even when people get into business, it's like, well, my goal this year is to reach X amount of dollars. We reach that, and then we're like, oh no, next year I want to reach this amount of dollars. Like, we're never satisfied, right?
Right.
Because we're always looking for happiness outside of ourselves. We
Hmm.
think that like I said, we have to keep finding it somewhere else. It's not in
Yeah.
things. It's not in money. Money pays your bills. Money takes care of things here on this earth, and I get it. But if we put a security in those things,
Hmm.
then honestly, we have no foundation.
No.
Because life,
Well,
life can change like this. I
yeah.
mean, you and I both know that life can
Right.
change like this, in the blink of an eye, and then all the things you had are no longer there. But that's where
Right.
you find your security. Then
Yeah.
you're lost. Emotionally, spiritually, like there's just there's no other way to put it. But
Mhm.
you feel lost. You feel just broken and shattered, because everything that you built your life on, it's just sinking sand. You
Yeah.
know, it cannot hold
Absolutely.
you. Yes. Oh,
Absolutely.
I know you and I can talk about this all day
I
long,
know.
because you get it, and it's just, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like you're right. It's not easy to see that, or even believe that, or think that way, or live that way when you live in this culture, and
Yeah.
it's not. And even I think about my own childhood. I'm originally from Congo, but I was born in the wealthy. African family. I
Mhm.
didn't never lived in a house. We lived in a two-story home. We had maids in the house. My dad was doctor, and we were well to do. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. In Africa, I was comfortable. I had people doing my laundry, cleaning my house, cooking my food, all the stuff because they were working for a family. So,
Mhm.
but even in that, you know, I knew everything else was going around me was not, if not everyone around me had the same reality. And
Yeah.
even growing up, I could see the difference. Then I knew like, there was more to life than just being comfortable. Right. And then as an adult, I didn't have all of that. I had to go through my own time of seeking and, really, finding that foundation for myself that it didn't matter that, I had everything handed to me when I was younger, maybe. But as an
Mhm.
adult, I didn't have that. And that really helped me,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful, very grateful for those hard times in my life because that brought me closer to God. It brought me close to my, honestly, to my calling, to what I'm called to do, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have that same story. I mean, I had rape and sexual abuse in my
Mhm,
childhood. And that was something that kept me stuck for like 30 some years. Like
mhm,
seriously, 30 some years. I pretended it didn't happen. I, pretended it wasn't affecting me, all these
mhm,
things. And then finally at about 33, I
mhm.
started dealing with it. Not in the
Yeah.
best way probably, but I started dealing with it.
Mhm.
And now, I mean, the work that we're doing in Africa, we
Yeah.
built a pregnancy crisis center for girls that are kicked out of their houses and their homes and various other situations, really pretty much forced into prostitution to
Yeah.
try and just feed themselves because they're kicked out of everything, education and home. And,
Mhm.
and I do that because that's my story. And I
Yes.
do life coaching because that's my story. And I do,
Mhm.
host events and conferences, women's conferences, because that's my story. And I don't want anyone else to stay stuck a second longer
Yes.
than they need to, that they can
Yeah.
see like there is a step on the other side of that
Mm.
trauma, whatever that trauma is. And we all have some kind of trauma in our life.
Yes. Yeah.
And there is life on the other side, but you do have to go through it. You have to be ready, just
Mm-mm.
you have to come to terms with it. You've got to
Yeah.
process it. You've got to go through, truly counseling and then life
Mhm.
coaching after that to
Yeah.
really get your life back on track. And you've got to process through it. And then
Mm.
God will do amazing things with it.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's so amazing to see. Again, that's a whole other way of reinventing. It took a
It
lot longer.
is.
And I
Yeah.
didn't think of it that way for quite a while. Like I wouldn't
Mhm.
even admit those things for a long time.
Right.
But
Right.
now it's like it's just this miracle that God wove, from trauma, which I call it trauma, to triumph. And now
Yes.
it's I wouldn't give my life up for anything. And I'm glad those things happen so that I can help someone else. And then
Mhm.
use that as that springboard to do the amazing things, to be a part of what the amazing things God is
It's
doing
doing.
in
Yeah.
Kenya. That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
amazing to
Yeah,
watch.
and I can so echo that. Honestly, if I didn't go through depression, anxiety, I probably wouldn't be a counselor, right?
Right,
And if I didn't go through trauma, I would never be, trauma therapist either. So
right,
I had sometimes, those things are not pleasant in the moment. They're not pleasant when to happen.
right.
I'm not saying that, oh no, we have to go seeking, hurt in our life so that we can help people hurt. No,
Right.
happen because we live in a fallen world. And
Yes.
but the beauty with what God does is like He purpose recycles those, those trauma, moments, those, maybe what we'll call negative experiences into
Mm.
something beautiful. Then like you just said, then we don't have to be ashamed of it anymore because now we know it's serving a greater purpose.
Right.
And we don't have to be stuck in whatever pain or history, whatever happened there, because we can now use that to help others get unstuck faster and quicker. Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and I
So
just
awesome.
I love when God does that. It's just, and we know it cannot be on our own power, and when you realize that, your story it's not just your story, it's your story for
Yeah.
His glory, like, we love to say, because He takes all of that to make something beautiful and help somebody else in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, I think of a stained glass window, right? I mean, stained glass windows are all broken glass. I mean, all
Yes.
they're
Yes.
broken, but yet
Yeah.
you pull it together in a beautiful old church, usually at
Mm,
this point,
mm,
and look how beautiful they are. And that's all broken glass. So
right.
broken pieces brought back together is even more beautiful than if it was just a real window, unbroken, that we
Mm-hmm.
install. Like, that's fine. It's good. It serves its purpose. But
Right.
broken pieces of glass make an even more beautiful picture and a more
Yes.
beautiful, all the color and all the things that come from that. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But we need
Yeah.
to get God to do that. And it's not always easy. I'm not saying it was
No,
easy.
yeah.
It was not easy. And
Right.
it was worth it.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Yes.
So, talking about that process of, reinventing yourself through, just even from the trauma to triumph and, mission from lawyer to missionary and, all of that. Like, what are some of the things that helped you in that process, through those times, the difficult process of, reinventing yourself and doing what God called you to do?
For sure. Prayer was
Yeah.
big, big, big. And I think even before that, like getting in God's word, even though I didn't even know what I was reading the first time I read the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, like none of it really made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But just the act of obedience of he wants us to be in his word. So do it. And then he blesses that. And for me, I was in a lot of Bible studies because my brain was wired really wrongly because of the things that happened in my early childhood
Mm-hmm.
before I can
Mm-hmm.
even remember. So
Yeah.
my mind never thought correctly. And so it took a
Mm-hmm.
lot to undo that. So I still am
Yeah.
in like 6 or 7 Bible studies a week just to keep my mind focused where I know it needs to be focused. It's not
Yeah.
for everybody. Not everybody needs to do that. But for me, that's how broken I was. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I need to do for me. So staying in the word, getting in the word, getting in a group with the word,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
prayer, getting into a church that supports you, but that also that you support it as well. Like there's
Yes.
definitely a part of service that is in that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
at the beginning, it's not service of people that have been through your same trauma because you
Mm.
need to find your healing first.
Right.
So at the beginning, it's just maybe in the children's ministry or it's, the greeter at church or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but really serving others and realizing that um, others have it worse than you. There's
Mm.
always somebody that has it worse than you. And so don't get discouraged. Just keep on serving, keep
Mm-hmm.
on getting in his word and prayer and great Christian friends. Like you've got to open up. Counseling was a part of that.
Yes.
Life coaching was a part of that. You've got to open up and be honest and real. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
everything's fine. Like, no, like you're never going to get healing if you pretend.
Right.
You've got to be open and honest, especially with that core group that you have. So finding that core
Mm-hmm.
group
Mm-hmm.
of safe people to be open and honest with.
Right, right. And especially, when you say, when that we're never going to find healing if we're not being open. And the sad reality is that those hurtful things that we've been through, those hurtful experiences, create that shame. And then shame leads us to hide. And then when everybody's still hiding, then nobody talks about it. Then the stigma just gets even bigger. Then we
Yeah,
hide even more. Then nobody's being healed. Nobody's getting healed
right.
at all. Right. So yeah, we have to be willing, to say it's gonna start with me. And sometimes it goes in from generation to generation. Nobody talks about this thing. We bring everything under the rug. Nobody wants to talk about it. But unless, it starts with us saying, I don't want to live this way. I want to be honest with myself that this is not what life's supposed to be. This is not what I want my life to be. And then say, okay, who can help me, get out of this? You know,
Right. And that comes with a ton of fear. Like as you're
yes.
starting to
Oh
push through,
yeah.
you're going to get a ton of fear and you're going to get a lot of spiritual warfare from that. But
Yeah.
to be like, know that Christ is your foundation, that he is going to pull you through. He already bore that shame on the cross for you. Are you willing to push past what the devil tells you to
Mm,
move into what God has for you? Because it
yes.
come with attack and it's great fear. Like it's
Mm,
like unbelievable fear. But yet I can tell you from experience, as you push through that, you're
mm,
going to be so glad you did. And it makes it so much easier to push through the next one and the next one
yes.
and the next one and not get pulled into it to begin with as you
Mm,
move and more along. And again, it goes back to being in his word, prayer, and having those key people, making sure those key people are safe people. That's the other
yes.
part. You can't
Yes.
just open up to anybody.
Right.
You've got
Yeah.
to make sure they are safe people because you will be hurt if you choose just anyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's not okay. You've got to really pray about it and you've got to make sure it's a safe person or people that you're working with, because you can get re-injured and re-traumatized by reaching out to the wrong people, and
Oh
I've had
yeah.
that experience too. So
Yeah, and that's a good, point to make. People, as we're saying, talking about, opening up and finding people to support you. We're not just saying anybody or everyone either. You have to make
yeah,
sure they're safe people that you trust, people that have the same values, same belief
yeah,
system. People, even sometimes it's not because somebody been there that they're the right person to work with you, because they might have
mm-hmm.
been there, but their philosophy, if you want, is totally different than what you want to believe and want to see happening in your life. So you have to be very, very, very careful about who you surround yourself in your process of reinvention, no matter what kind of reinvention you're doing. But even some more so when it's those, going from trauma, you want to make sure that you have those key people who are safe and key people who are leading you again to what you were called and created to be.
Exactly. And really what it comes down to, because if you're wondering, do I have those safe people? These safe
Mm-hmm.
people will listen to you vent for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
but then they will lead you back to the Bible
Mm,
and say, what does God say about that?
yeah.
That is a safe person. It'll is the person that will allow you to vent so you can get that feeling out, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to let you go on for hours. They're not going to let you go on for an hour. They'll let you get it out there a few minutes, maybe a half hour, but then they're going to turn you back to the Bible.
Mm,
And that is a safe person, because it's only Jesus that's going to heal you. That person will not heal you.
right.
Jesus will heal you. And so they've got to be turning you back to, and that's how you'll know if they're a safe person or not.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, the person is just a vessel, right? Yeah,
Right.
and even you think about, friends or family or even pastors, coaches, counselors, if all we are doing is letting people be in the pity party for life, we're not helping them live a fulfilling life.
Right.
Right? There's time
Right.
to process, there's time to, to digest what happened, and there's
Yes.
time to heal, and then there's time to move on. Because if we keep getting
Exactly.
stuck in the past and reliving it over and over again,
Yeah.
it's
I
not
think we
healthy. That's
shared
why we hit it.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should not be sitting on a psychologist's couch for 6 years. You shouldn't be sitting there for 4 years. It's not working.
Take
If
care.
that's where you're at, you need to seek somewhere else.
Yeah,
You need
what's
to now
next?
start your life again. You need to get a life coach. You need to get back going. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a while. You do need to go back there. You do need to process it. And you probably need a psychologist to do it. There's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a role, but it's not a 4, 5, 6 year process.
Yeah.
You need to then move forward, and you need to restart your life. That
Mm-hmm.
is the past. You need to process it, but it is the past.
Right.
We don't want to keep living that every day. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where life coaching comes in, and all the work
Yes.
that you do, and
Yeah.
and all those things.
Right, right. Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I went back, even after already being, a counselor. I had my master's and I had, ton of, lot of certifications, in the mental health field. I'm like, there's needs to be more, and I've seen people that I work with and people sometimes even that I just know because of, working in the field that, will get stuck there. Like they were stuck going, we're still seeing the therapist 10 years. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
what's this therapist doing if we're still there 10 years from now,
Not much. Not
Right.
much.
It's like it would give
They
you a
know.
safe, right, a safe place to talk, but then we're not helping you move ahead, right?
Yeah.
So, the life coaching is that next step. It's like, counseling, helps you process, helps you find the healing. Then life coaching helps you find your life back, get your life back. It's like, then where are we headed? What's the vision here for the future?
Yes.
And yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, I mean, infinitely more. That's what we want to do, is really restart that. I do have a certificate in biblical counseling, but we really just wanted to start, like, you process that, but then let's restart, dream,
Yeah.
learn, and fly. And we do that
Yes.
for women here, but then we also do that for the girls in Kenya. And that's what our center, Mercy's Light, is all about. It's these girls that are kicked out to the streets and they have nowhere to go, but then we bring them in as a safe place, and then we teach them. They first of all get biblical counseling. They get a ton of counseling, trauma counseling, biblical counseling, group counseling, lots of counseling and education for the first year.
Yeah.
And then the second year they learn a vocation. So they'll learn 6 different vocations, but then they'll specialize in one,
Mm.
like tailoring, things that beadwork, a lot of different hairdressing, leather work, things that will sell, or be good businesses in
Right.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Some of that work will come over here, and we sell that to support what we're doing over there. But most of that we're working on getting them to be self-sustaining in Kenya, because then in the third year they'll start a business. So they're done with their
Awesome.
training. Now we want to start a business so then they can support them and their babies
Mm.
on their own, like, because they're not going to live with us forever. The plan is
Right.
3 years, and then they move on. And so then that's that whole, taking that next level, and
Yeah.
stopping with the past and moving on to the next steps.
Yes, I love your model. You find there's these girls, young women who are, heartbroken, alone, abandoned, and sometimes, most of the time, not just sometimes, most of the time, they're pregnant because somebody raped them, wasn't by choice,
Right.
But then the same people who raped them abandon them. Sometimes it's family. A lot of incest happens there. They're just like, they're abandoned to themselves, are the same people who actually cause that, and
Yeah.
so and I like how you meet them where they are, help them heal, and then help them plan for the future and actually set them for success in the future. That's amazing. So what is it that you're working on right now in Kenya, Mercy's Home, and how can we help you? How can people support you with what you're doing there?
Absolutely. So our next step is to build a vocational center. We call it a business/vocational center,
Yeah.
because we need that space. We need to have space to be able to teach them the different trades. We need lots of sewing machines and lots of hair things and all of those things. And so this year, that's our big goal, is to get that built. We're not exactly sure what that will look like as far as dollars. We're actually working on that today in Kenya. It's night now in Kenya. They were working
Right.
on some of that, but we can tell you with all the furnishings, because we will have pretty expensive furnishings, sewing machines, things like that. We're thinking it'll end up being probably around $70,000 for the whole, like the furnishing as well as the building and things like that. We
Yeah.
do things as much as we can within Kenya to raise funds for that. There are some gender funds that are available, and so we work as hard as we can to get those as well. But they're very minimal. So
Yeah.
so we're selling bricks to our vocational center. And you can find more information on that. I know you'll put a link on that, so
Yes.
I'll leave that for that. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So we're really working hard to get the space so these girls can truly learn and have the space that we need to teach them. And then that would be the second year or the third year, they would learn all their business skills over there. So how do you keep your books? How do you go get a client? Like they will have clients before they leave our place. They will be starting their business, so we can show them how to keep their books, so we can show them how to do their taxes, so we can show them how to market themselves, how to know what their net profit is. If you make a uniform for $4 and you sell it for $3, even though you got money, you didn't make any money.
Many money. Well, you lost.
But I do that sometimes here, and so I know they'll be really tempted that there. So they need to learn, like, no, that you didn't make money, you lost money. And so teaching them those things, like literally hands-on, you know, that's what we need to do. So then they can move on and then support themselves and their baby, and maybe take another pregnant girl in, because the teen pregnancy, it's I'm in teen, but young moms, because it's some younger than teens, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. It's about 18,000 girls just in Kilifi County, which is where we are. So it's a huge, huge problem only God can solve. We will be able to support 18 in our center, but we need this vocational center to get to that point. So, so we would love to have you join us. We do lots of updating, both on Facebook and then even in newsletters and things like that. I go to Kenya 2 or 3 times a year. We have some other people that now are starting to go to Kenya 2 or 3 times a year. So there's a ton of in-person updates. To keep you super involved and to get you to know the girls and get you to just know all the situations and all that you're doing to make a difference.
Yeah. And it's more than just a break. You know, it's you're changing life. You're partnering with others who are doing so and making a difference. I remember even the first time I actually met you face to face at the conference. And I think it was Kathy was the one talking about the little boy who was picked up and it was in the garbage, right? It was in the trash, I believe.
On the side of the road,
on the side of the road, and was just a baby. And and today when you see him, I mean, just seeing the pictures, how he's doing so much better. Like, he looks well, and his little cheeks, and he's so cute. And he even got adopted right there in Kenya. And it's amazing. So for people watching or listening, you're not just buying bricks. You're saving babies like that, and you're helping moms, young moms who have been abused and neglected and abandoned, find healing and create a life for themselves and their children, so that they don't have to depend on the people who are abusing them. To put it bluntly.
Right. You're transforming lives for sure.
Yes.
Like, it's not even just changing lives. Like,
Yeah.
even if we brought them in, did the pregnancy crisis and then kick them out, from there, I mean, their life won't be changed by that. Like, they need a skill. Unemployment is 70% or higher in the community we work in. So going to school and getting an education is not going to cut it.
Right.
Like, there are no jobs to get after that. So so to get them a business, you are transforming the entire rest of their lives and the life of their
babies. Yeah.
Probably would have been left on the side of the street in a pit latrine or in a garbage dump, because they have no way to support them or no way to do anything. And so you're saving the life of the baby, but you're also transforming both of these lives, the mom and the baby, so they can be self-supporting. So that's a good point. It's really not buying a brick. You're really buying a transformed life.
Yes.
For 2 people.
Yeah.
And actually 19 or 20, 30, 32.
Right. Yeah. The moms and the baby. And then just thinking about it too, once the business and vocation center is set up, it won't just be the 36 people we have now, because there's more women coming after that. So it's, just, I mean, we can't even put a number to it, because we don't know how many people will be impacted by that. Yeah.
Right. Right, because we're going to actually bring girls that can't stay with us because we don't have the space, but we'll bring them in to actually get the vocational training, young
Awesome.
girls that are pregnant in Kalihi County. So there'll definitely be more that'll be touched that way. They just won't have the housing with us and that
Right.
jump start,
Mm-hmm.
but they will at least get the transformation skills in this
Yeah.
center. So it's really, really, I mean, I feel like God has given me the vision of ending poverty for teen girls in
Mm.
Kalihi County.
Yeah.
And I know he can do it.
Yes.
And I'll do the steps that he wants me to do to get to that point. And I have a lot of Kenyan friends that are taking a lot of steps to voluntarily, freely, just doing all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. And then people over here that buy the items that we sell and things like
Right.
that. So it truly is possible. It is
Yeah.
possible. And we're going to do everything we can to get it to that point. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
join with us. Be a
Yes,
part.
yes,
God is
be a
doing.
part. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So yeah, thank you so much, Carrie. And I will post the link for people. You can just click and it takes you straight to the page and you can find out more about, what's being done in Kenya, the lives that are being transformed, and then you can, partner and make a difference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.